So hopefully you all got an agenda. How are we going to do this, Mr. Chairman?
Well, we just called it to order, right? So we
Correct.
got, just make a note of who's here. Any citizens petitions, comments, concerns? Do we receive anything? Nothing?
I guess not. Mark disappeared.
We lost Mark now?
Town of Groton staff.
Yeah, I'm having connection issues, so I've dropped the video portion to see if that helps.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, everybody got the minutes, I guess, email to them. Any comments on the minutes?
Yes, I had a couple from the May meeting. First of all, in section Roman numeral 2, there's votes, or at least the tables allowing votes, but there were no votes. Is that just pro forma? Those charts are just in there?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And okay, there's one other. I fixed that though. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
All right, we have a motion for the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. All right, reports, Mark.
Okay, so well, like for everybody, the last 7 or 8 months have been kind of crazy. But the Parks and Recreation Department continues to move forward, albeit at a slightly different pace. We completed the community needs assessment back in early summer. We got 700 responses to both invitations and an open online survey.
Wow.
So it was a good number.
Yeah.
So it's statistically valid. So with that information and a couple of visioning sessions that the department had with the team that we're working with, both architect and Greenplay, who is kind of the in charge of this whole project. We've been working on conceptual designs for the Pratt building. The Pratt building is a recreation building, part of the Mystic Ed Center, which the state is selling to a developer, and the developer has, in his proposal, said that he would remodel the building and turn it over to the town to run. In that building, there is a 6-lane pool, a full-size gym, and locker room, and some space that will be converted into multi-purpose uses. So we have a meeting with the developer next week to show him what our vision is. I can't share that with anyone yet, unfortunately, but you know, if everything goes as was proposed and presented, at some point in the future, the town of Groton will be taking over a 40,000 square foot recreation building, which will allow us to provide a lot more services and better services to the community. So it's kind of a unique opportunity, and we're
Great.
pretty excited about it. Yeah. COVID has dramatically changed how we do programming. We actually just started doing programming at the community center about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Limited classes, schedules have been adjusted so that people aren't coming and going. In fact, we don't even allow, unless you're a participant, you don't come into the building. So we're taking a number of protocols. It had a significant financial impact on our budget, and John will know this, we operate from a couple of different budgets. We have the general fund budget and the special revenue fund budget. And we lost close to $200,000 in our special revenue fund. And that's the money that we use to pay instructors, to pay for all the costs associated with running a class. So, now we are, in the past, we would run some programs that didn't make money because other programs were making an excess of money. And so those programs that were making an excess would cover the costs of those programs that weren't making money, but we felt it was important to run those programs. So we'll be going to the council as we go through the budgets for the FYE 22 and requesting that some of those programs that we have traditionally run in the past that haven't made money, that were in the special revenue fund, that those get moved over to the general fund. Not a great year to be asking people to pay more in taxes, so we're not sure how that's going to turn out. The senior center is just about to enter a process where they will going through the exercise of looking at rebranding the senior center, including changing the name of the senior center. This is something that a lot of senior centers are looking at across the country. It has been closed since March. They are reopening at the end of October. However, they have been doing virtual programming and also offering programs outside when the weather was nice. So some of those programs will be slowly shifting back indoors as the weather turns colder. They continue to serve meals. This kitchen there, they typically serve about 100 meals a day. And this is something that we did a couple of years ago. We set up a grab and go option, and we've continued that grab and go option and are averaging between 55 and 75 grab and go meals a day. People will drive up, roll the window down. We hand them a bag with their lunch, which they've paid for. And that has gone very well. And it's also allowed seniors to try to keep connected with the staff. And that for seniors, the past 7 or 8 months has been particularly difficult because they're probably, a good percentage of them are in a situation where they're already isolated, and going to the senior center is an opportunity for them for some socialization. So with the senior center closed, being isolated all the time is extremely difficult and has some consequences. The department committed about 10 months ago to try to achieve agency accreditation. And that has, we're moving forward with that. The National Recreation Parks Association has a program where departments can get accredited. There's 153 standards that you have to meet. And they range from marketing to finance to policy and the whole gamut. Essentially what you're doing is your department is analyzing everything they do, determining if they're using best management practices. In some instances, there was things that we weren't even doing that we clearly should have been doing. So going through this exercise has really raised awareness of a lot of staff, like, oh yeah, we really should have been doing that. So we hope that by January, we will have compiled all the evidence of compliance, have met all the standards. We take all that documentation, ship it off, and there will be a review team that will, depending on when this takes place, will either review us virtually, which I participated in a virtual review of a community down in Florida this spring, or there'll be a group of 3 or 4 people that will come to visit us for about a week and just do a full assessment to make sure that we're doing everything that we said that we're doing. Disc golf course, we are moving forward with upgrading the disc golf course. There is one in town. We got $20,000 in this fiscal year to make improvements to that. So we are going to be putting in all brand new baskets, which is what you throw the Frisbee or the disc towards. We'll be putting up signage and putting up tee boxes. And that work will take place probably over the next 8 months. We hope to be doing some work this winter, but most of the work will probably take place next spring and into the summer. And I think that's, well, I guess, no, I do have to tell you about the Copp property. So we did get money to put a well in for the dog park, and that has been quite an experience. When I asked the simple question, you know, what kind of hoops do I have to jump through? I never should have asked. So the first place that I had to call was Ledgelight Health District. They redirected me to some department for the state, and I ended up having to submit a public water utility permit. So we were going to become our own utility, a utility of one well that served no people. Finally, someone saw the application and realized the absurdity of all of this and contacted me and said, no, in fact, we're not going to process your permit because you don't need to go through all of this. Since that, and I think I found that out in sometime in August or September, that I wasn't going to have to become a utility and I guess bill myself. I've had a really difficult time trying to get somebody that drills wells to come out and just give me a quote. So I'm still working on that. And just to update everybody, the park staff has spent 33 hours in the last 6 months mowing, trimming trees, doing trail clearing and things like that. And that's pretty much my report.
All right. Any
Good job, Mark.
questions for Mark?
Yeah, so I have 2 questions. One is, Mark, are you suffering from a severe drought down there as we are here in Bristol
Yeah.
County, Mass?
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure that we were classified as extreme, but I think we were one category below.
Okay.
And I've trees around my yard, the leaves didn't turn a nice, you know, golden yellow or red. They just turned brown and dropped off. So I'm a little concerned that we may have lost some trees due to the drought.
Yeah, it's
you're
been
not-
exceptionally dry here.
Mm.
We're 10 inches plus behind
Yeah,
our annual pace, and we did get 1.25 inches of rain at our house in our gauge 2 days ago.
yeah,
But that doubled the amount since mid-June.
wow,
We've literally had 2 inches of rain since mid-June,
yeah,
and most of that in little dribs and drabs. So that may be why it's hard to get a well driller to do anything. We've got neighbors that are having to re-drill wells because they're,
oh, that could be, that's a good
that-
point.
That's
Yeah.
exactly I it. have, there are 2 people on Cove Road that are having to re-drill wells.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're down 14 inches here, and
Is
yeah,
that-
good luck on a driller.
yeah,
that may be something you just have to wait on.
wait until next spring.
I got
Yes.
one other
Yeah.
question. That rec center, this developer is doing this gratis, or what do they get out of it?
Well, there are a number of buildings that
Ah,
are part of the Mystic Ed Center. So he's working with the planners in town and has put together a proposal to put in excess of 500 units in that area. I think there's a dorm room there, and there's some other class class buildings that are part of that. He's not interested in running a rec center.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're negotiating a TIF, tax increment financing. I'm not sure what the lax. Yeah, it's a TIF. So essentially the town would, in lieu, they would give him a break on taxes for so many years, so that he can kind of fund the operation. But in the net will be that the town will see an increase of like $4.5 million in taxes from the folks that are living there and paying taxes.
That sounds great. His name isn't Trump, is it?
No, it's a developer out of New Jersey, I think.
Okay.
Actually, the facility the town used for a while until
We
it
did.
became unusable. And now, thankfully, Mark, is going to be usable again. But I mean, it's a nice facility. Well, if it had ever been taken care of correctly, it'd be a really nice facility. But hopefully it'll be back there. And having a pool, the town needs a pool like crazy. So
It sounds
Yeah,
great.
that's been the number one identified need. Well, probably even back when John here, it was in 2009, they did a community needs survey, and aquatics facility was the number one need identified in the recreational needs assessment. And we just completed one, as I mentioned, in the late spring, and same thing. Aquatics was the number one need in the community. So this has been an ongoing need in the community, and this will help to address part of that need.
Yeah, we used to use that pool with the kids.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
only problem is because they had people that had to go in and out in lifts, and they kept it at a
very warm.
really high temperature. It was like
It
sauna.
was terrible. Yeah, my kids
Yeah.
took swim lessons there.
Yeah.
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 Hey, Mark, would this be, if this comes through, would this be open, I guess, to all town of Groton residents and everyone in this multi-use complex that they're envisioning out there?
Yes, yeah, that's the, that would be the only way the town would take over the operation, is if it was available to all Groton residents.
Ray, you're on mute.
You're on
Yeah, I
mute,
think,
Ray.
Ray, you're muted.
That could be a good thing, but for the $20,000 you received for the disc golf course, where was that from? Was that CIP, town CIP?
Yeah, it actually ended up being LoCIP money. So
Oh,
every,
LoCIP. Oh, good.
yeah, every community contributes to a LoCIP fund, and then it gets redistributed. And we had LoCIP money that had been designated for previous projects, and for whatever reason, those projects hadn't taken place. So we had, I don't know, maybe 600,000 in LoCIP funds that were available, and those funds got reallocated, and some of that money went towards the disc golf course.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions for Mark? Okay, moving to Copp Board of Overseers business. Not on the agenda, but I did want to acknowledge the passing of Dave Winkler, who was our first chairman. He was there at the beginning when they established the Board of Overseers. I was honored that he asked me to join a while back, and I enjoyed serving with him and your dad, Alan, for some time, and of course Neil and Jim. And I don't know if Neil and Jim want to make any comments. You guys were there way before me, but Dave was really a mover and a shaker, and certainly did great work for not only for the Copp property, but also the town of Groton. So I wanted to.
Yeah, he also formed the Groton Parks Foundation. So
Right.
This is Jim. I was the very first person to come on to replace one of the people that was on the original Copp board that was established in 1989. And so I worked with Dave for a large number of years. He was very thorough in everything he did.
Mhm.
Um, and um, he had some opinions about open space. He wanted open space, but he didn't really want it removed from the town tax coffers. And so when I was chairman of the planning commission, and a lot of times we were taking land for open space from subdivisions and everything, he would get a little bit upset about that because he didn't want it removed from the tax ledgers. But he also realized from the polling that we did with residents whenever we did or redid the plan of conservation and development, that quality of life, open space always tended to be the but item that the public wanted to have. And so he abided with that, although I know he was not too happy with it at times. But I did work with him for a long time.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, he was a former mayor too. In fact, he was mayor, I think, when they bought the Copp property from the Allen Copp family.
Correct.
I should say Dalton Copp family. Now you're on mute, Alan.
I think there were many Copps. I don't know how many stakeholders there were, but I'm guessing it could have been as many as a dozen
Wow.
at the time it was purchased. Because all of those properties were undivided interests.
Okay. The only other point of business, I think, on for the Copp Board of Overseers is the survey walks. And I don't know if everybody's been doing those. I think, Mark, have any of those come in?
This is Jim. I did mine back in August, at the end of August, but with the start of the academic year and everything that's been going on here, I have not submitted my report. I've been remiss in doing that. But I did make the walk, didn't notice anything out of order. It did appear to be used very heavily when I was there. In fact, virtually all outdoor facilities are really being used extensively with the COVID.
Yeah, I think they're still valuable. I'd still like to continue to do them. I think everybody knows what their dates, their scheduled months are. So unless there's objection, I think we need to continue to move forward with those months, and everybody turn in your reports to Mark.
Good.
Yeah, I did forget to send out, I like to try to send out a reminder each month at the beginning of the month, and I did forget to do that for September, but I actually contacted Neil today because Neil, his month is October. So hopefully we'll be getting one from Neil.
Okay, great. All right, moves to foundation business, John.
Thank you. Treasurer's report. I know Paul sent it out here an hour or two ago. I don't know if you all saw it or not. Paul, you want to verbalize what you sent out, please?
I sent out a couple of pages. One is the balance sheet, which reflects our cash balance as of September 30th of $5,524.45. We're still due back, and I know Mark's going to go over that on the final gala report. We're still due back from the town of Groton, $7,360. So we're about 7 or 8 months since the gala, so I may have to call my cousins from Providence up to come collect them. We'll be seeing that soon.
Off the screen.
You make a motion on that?
Yeah, that's right.
I can take care of that.
So I like about you, Paul. You follow through.
The second page, I was kind of a report for the past year, just what's come in and what's come out really over the past, since we met in May. We've seen a couple $100 come in United Way money. If you see that, the $208.44. That's the only, I believe, new money that's come in since May, and I don't think we've had any expenses that we've paid out since May. So there really hasn't been much activity over the past few months at all. I was able to get another $1,000 grant from Charter Oak Credit Union that we just received this past week. So that will be going in the bank this week.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes,
But-
thank you.
What credit union, Paul? Please?
Charter Oak.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you guys remember the days when we didn't have 3 digits in our balance sheet.
That interest
Wasn't
was
too long
great.
ago.
That interest was great when it rolled in.
Yeah. So
Interest has been steady at about 13 cents a month lately. So if we had the 7,000 from the town of Groton, we'd probably be getting 26 cents a month. So there's a cost of the money that we've got out there. But
maybe
I'll be filing the IRS report. We're officially junior end in the eyes of the IRS. We're under $50,000 a year in revenue, so we file a basic what we call an e-postcard report, which just says, hey, we're still around. Our annual revenue is less than 50 grand, and I believe we just report that John is the president of the organization. So that'll be going in over the next couple of weeks.
Do I get in trouble? Is that what you're telling me?
I was going to say everything's going to be your fault.
You're going to jail.
Good point, man.
Any questions for Paul?
Yes, this is Jim. I have one question, Paul. I know that there's an amount of money out there called the CARES Act. It's gone from the federal government to every state governor to spend to support nonprofits. I know I've been getting a lot of emails from like the Guard Theater, the Bushnell, Goodspeed, whatever, to try to have petitions signed to go to the governor to spend some of that money or to send some of that money to the nonprofits. I don't know if we're able to get in that queue, but we are a nonprofit. I don't know if there's even much money there to look at, but it might be worthwhile to get a couple of crumbs if we can. Does anybody know about the CARES Act, how you actually get in the queue to get money?
I certainly have
You know what I'm
Black.
talking about. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
There's a fairly sizable, I mean, it's in the millions, pot of money that has come in that's called the CARES Act. It
Yep.
comes from the federal government, and it's to each state for the governor to spend as he or she sees fit to support certain areas, and nonprofits is one of the leading groups that they're looking to support. Because obviously, if you're something like the Guard, you have no income coming in, no shows, no nothing, and they want to try to keep it viable, to let it survive. We're not quite at that level, but we might be able to get in that line to get a little bit of money. But I don't know enough about, not being a financial person, about the CARES Act. So I don't know if anybody else does.
No.
Mark, has the town heard anything about that, or?
No. The town may have, but I have not seen anything come across my desk about that. I've heard it on the news, but that's about the extent of my knowledge of that particular program.
It just a quick look up on that. It's for maintaining employment.
Yeah.
So if Groton Parks Foundation or Board of Overseers has employees that we didn't want to, this is not the paycheck,
Protection
whatever it is,
program.
protection plan, but it's for, it could be for nonprofits, but it's for keeping employees paid. So
Yeah. We actually, with my land conservancy, Avalonia, we did explore this a number of months ago, and it was onerous, and we only have 1.5 employees, and once we looked at it, we really just didn't meet the standard as far as number of employees and number of hours lost. So as it existed 5-6 months ago, it did not make sense for us, though it's probably morphed. So
Well, no, I don't think it's changed much. And the Mystic Museum of Art had the same thing. They went through it, they looked at it, and the cost of actually filling out all the paperwork and doing all that.
Yeah, it made no
the
sense for
expected
us.
return. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we should have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved, Ray.
Second.
I saw Jim's finger and I saw Andy's.
Well, Jim can go.
Two fingers too.
Oh, okay. Ellen's got 3 fingers.
That's a double dog there, right?
Okay. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You made it through another report, Paul. Thank you.
Last thing real quick is, Charter Oak is in the middle of their, credit union is in the middle of their matching campaign. So if you belong to Charter Oak Credit Union, they will match up to $500 of contributions between now and Thanksgiving, or when they hit 200,000 of matching contributions. So that's out there right now. If you have to belong to the credit union, you have to have an account at the credit union.
Last year we started doing that and it didn't get us too far, but because it only works as if we're willing ourselves to throw some money in.
Right, we have to. The member has to donate and fill out a form, and Charter Oak will match if the member donates to the Groton Parks or any other 501c3.
Last year, Dom pursued it, and how can I put it? There wasn't enough of us that sent him some bucks to make it worth following through on. But is there interest in doing something? If not, thank you, Paul. If there is, Dom, you want to try to do that again, or?
Paul, correct me if I'm wrong. The other stipulation is you have to be a member.
Have to be a member, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
You're a member?
I am a member, yes.
So Dom could put up 500 and we all promise to pay him back.
I'm gonna make a motion and I put up $10,000. Is that what you're trying to say?
Dom, you're the leader. You got to stand up and,
Yeah, some
I'm
skin
in.
in the game.
I'm in 100%. I'm in.
Dom, why don't you survey the rest of the folks here and see if there's
Okay.
interest, and if there is, please pursue it, and if there isn't, don't worry about it.
Got it.
Update on donations. Paul told us about the $1,000 he was able to secure for us from Charter Oak. Mark sent us out a report. 80 more bucks came in from donations through the recreation office. We have $1,080 before we get to the next report here. Unfinished business. Sustaining membership. I know we talked about that. I don't know. I don't think anything much happened because everything kind of went into a pause phase when the pandemic hit. But anything from your end on that, Mark? I think Jerry made a presentation on that, but.
Yeah, I thought Dick was gonna be, well, he submitted some paperwork that I forwarded, and Dick, was that for the sustaining membership or was that something different?
I think it was in line with the discussions we had as far as sustaining membership and how we might reward people for maintaining membership with the foundation.
Okay, why don't we hold on that till we get on the next page where Dick's got his report. Gala final report, Mark, please.
Okay, yes. So expenses for the gala came to $94.62. Paul and my numbers differ a little bit. And I'm not quite sure why, but the good news is what Paul says we owe the Groton Parks Foundation is the same number that I have, so that's a good thing. The Actual income was 12,983. So the net for the Groton Parks Foundation was $3,520. And now that I see Paul's numbers line up with mine, I feel much more comfortable making sure that the town sends out a check to the Groton Parks Foundation for the for $7,360. So I will start that paperwork tomorrow.
Great, thanks, Mark. So I know months ago we thought it was going to be much less, so it's $3,500 was better than our early conversation.
Yes, yeah. Well, thanks to John for his diligence. We finally received a check from L&M just a couple of weeks ago. So, and that was for $1,000. So that clearly, when you're netting 3,500 and you get a check for 1,000, that's a good part of that. So I kept pestering. Yeah, I kept pestering John, and John kept pestering his friend.
I wonder if he's still my friend.
Well, I was just going to say, John has one less friend, but we've got $1,000 more. So, yeah.
Good. I'm glad we finally got it completed. Mark, thanks for putting the report together. I don't know if everybody saw the report, but he did email that out earlier.
Yeah.
And it broke down the expenses and the income. So thank you. Senior Center Community Garden update. I don't know how many of you went. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, that was the last grant we gave to the Southeastern Connecticut Community Garden Association. And we gave it to the Groton Senior, or actually we gave it to the Garden Foundation. They went over and helped build it at the Groton Senior Center. And the reason I'm butting into Mark's time here is because you should go over there and see it. I mean, I've been over there several times showing people it, and if they got it done, and it has been very helpful to a lot of people over there. When they couldn't go inside, at least they could go outside and grow some plants and vegetables, or flowers and vegetables. Marky, I'm sorry, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I just got a report today from the staff person that kind of oversaw the gardens. So all of the plants were donated, which included tomato, eggplant, zucchini, cucumber, pepper, basil, rosemary, and thyme. Most of the produce went back into the kitchen. And remember, I mentioned they were doing grab and go meals. So as they were preparing the meals, they were taking the fresh vegetables that came out of the 7 raised beds. And one of the other, I didn't mention this earlier, but one of the other things that the staff at the senior center did was that they organized a community first meals program, and they ended up getting $11,000 in donations. And over the course of probably 5 or 6 weeks, 2 nights a week, they were handing out meals to families, and through the 5 or 6 weeks, they handed out 3,500 meals. So some of the food that was produced from those raised beds went to those families also. Because of the pandemic, they didn't have the number of volunteers that they had hoped to do, but they did have 6 volunteers who regularly watered, weed, and picked the vegetables. They are looking next year to have 100% volunteers run the program. And yeah, I would say it was very successful. As John mentioned, people were thankful that they could get out. Some of these folks don't have the space to have a garden, and I'm sure some point during their life they had a garden, but now they're in an apartment where they don't have that space. So they were thankful that they could get out and still get their hands dirty and help raise some vegetables to go for a good cause. So yeah, thank you all for the donation, and I know it was greatly appreciated by staff and the volunteers that assisted with the community garden at the senior center.
If you haven't seen it, go over there because they really, how can I put it, fit it in a very small amount of space that exists behind the senior center, but several different beds. So
Yeah, and the beds are all raised and they're accessible so that someone in a walker can get to. A lot of them are put up on the sidewalk, so folks can, get up to onto the sidewalk and actually help garden, even though they may not, have the mobility that they used to have.
thanks, Mark.
Yep.
New business gala 2021. Is that
Yeah,
why,
John,
is
I
that why
think-
Jessica is with us tonight, or?
Yes,
Hi,
there
guys.
she is.
Hey,
Hey, Jess.
Hi. Sorry, I haven't been able to jump in with the video. It's super windy here, and it's been kind of. I keep getting you can't use the visual until you get a better internet connection. So if I cut off at all, I'm sorry. I've been here way back since when Mark was going over his report. And just to kind of chime in about the raised bed garden, like to Mark and John's point, that's really been something important and special to a lot of the people down at the senior center. And it's thank you, just on behalf of the people who don't get to say thank you, because it was definitely an important thing to a lot of people. But yay, hi, galas. Oh, hello?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry. So I'm sorry, John, I didn't mean to completely interrupt you there. But yeah, you guys
No.
wanted to talk about the 2021 gala. So one of the things that I've been doing is just kind of checking to see what everybody else has been planning and or doing in light of COVID. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I may not be speaking specifically about your organization, but from what I've been hearing, nobody's really planning on doing any formal get-togethers just because nobody really knows what's going to happen. There has been a lot of virtual fundraising going on, but not really to the success that anyone had been hoping for. And I mean, we're talking 50% of what the estimated budget was, partially because of how high the unemployment rate is. So people organizations aren't really getting the kind of involvement, donation, impact that they've been hoping for. So in my opinion, if it would be all right with everyone, I would kind of advocate to not do a 2021 gala. Not because it wouldn't be fun and super great to do, but just to kind of be mindful of a lot of the people that we'd be reaching out to invite, to remind about the Groton Parks Foundation, and to hopefully recruit to get involved may not be in super great places right now. So it just might not be as well received as we would intend it to be. But the one thing that I would like to ask, that if there is something that we can do kind of as a group to give back a little bit to the community, whether it be like an organized walk over at the Copp property, and I just was thinking about this kind of with the monthly walks, or organizing, say, a cleanup event. Those have been pretty well received by the community. Something fun that people can do to get outside that doesn't cost them anything. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's my update on the gala.
I second that idea. I think a walk or a cleanup, or maybe if we can get a bird person or a naturalist to do a walk over there where people could easily be outside and socially distance, I think that's a great idea.
I could go to Maggie Jones, former director at the Nature Center. You've probably been reading, if you read the New London Day, well, Alan, you
Pamphlet.
read it, but she's been doing a whole bunch of, she's been going out with Steve Fagan and doing a weekly nature thing. And I bet I could talk, she's great with birds and everything. I bet I could talk her into hosting something like that.
That would be amazing.
So that's one thought. The other thought that, I don't know how much energy and creativity you want to try to apply to this, but my wife and I and daughter attended a wedding that was a Zoom wedding. And it was really an extraordinary event. There were well over 250 people from many different states. I think the bride and groom were in New York. The parents of the bride were in Houston. The parents of the groom were in New Delhi, India, and so forth.
Wow.
Anyway, I guess my point is that they created a very fun and entertaining event on Zoom, which went on for 4 hours, but you wouldn't know it because people were dancing, everybody was dressed up, we all had, you know, a prescribed cocktail. I don't know if we can do something creative like that around sort of a virtual gala where we have music. We broke up into tables. Zoom has the ability to break you up into groups, which was really kind of fun. You could buy you could arrange it to buy a table. Anyway, it would be kind of an out of the box thing, but it's the only way I see that we could do something. We're definitely not going to be able to do anything together. There's just no question that won't happen.
This would be
Perhaps all of next year.
The Mystic Museum of Art raised more money in their virtual gala than they did in any in-person.
Oh, wow.
Really?
So
But one of the keys was, and we talked a lot about it, and, you know, as time was going on, that was what, 5 weeks ago or something, but, you know, there's Zoom fatigue's a real thing. So we capped it in an hour because we had seen some other nonprofits, and it drags on. So it has to be fun and it has to be over. Well, and the reason it was so successful was there was no cost.
So how did you make more money if there was no cost?
Well, you didn't have to have a tent, you didn't have tables, you didn't have a caterer, you didn't have any of that stuff. So you had no expenses, I'm sorry.
Everybody paid something to participate?
Yeah, we sold tickets to it, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the ticket sales were great. I mean, we obviously dropped them in person, and we had sponsorship levels, and the sponsorship sold out in the first week. So we obviously should have had those be a little higher. But a lot of people have not had very good success, but we happen to have really good success with it.
That is outstanding to hear.
It was really fun, and it was segmented, and it was informational. And it was and it was a lot of fun. They had a little bit of a auction-y thing. There was a part of it was trivia questions. You know, it was very light, very fun, and so anyway, it was interesting.
That's awesome.
Is that something, Jessica, I know last year, Jessica and Andy and myself were on the committee. Is that something we want to, discuss at another Zoom meeting so we don't put Alan to sleep?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely love to kind of chat about that if you guys are interested in doing it, at least to kind of have something to propose back to the group. Absolutely.
Well, I can just share what we did and what our discussions were. And I think, but I can't guess, one thing we were very lucky in that all the tech and audiovisual was people from the Seaport who do this all the time.
Oh, that's cool.
And are professional. But I got to believe the town has that ability,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Jess,
seeing
maybe
right
we
now.
could somehow involve Sean.
That's what I was
in
just
this?
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
GMTV. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You know, and it looks good. And you, the history part was everybody loved. It was just a funny history, not funny, interesting, but sort of unusual.
Andy, are you willing to share your thoughts with us if Jessica sets up a meeting?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to.
Great. Thank you. All right, I will get that out for the three of us. And I will
We'll
gonna
invite
talk
Sean
to-
if he can come.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to talk to him too.
And Jessica, you might Google, events like this, because there are consultants, that that script this stuff in such a way that it's kind of interesting and fun and so forth.
Absolutely.
Okay, did you see whose face is now on the screen here?
Yeah.
Hi, Neil.
Hi.
Hey.
Are you,
You,
are you in Dick's disguise this evening? or-
Yeah.
Neil just got better looking.
Younger, better looking brother.
Welcome to the meeting, Neil.
Yeah.
So,
He's the good twin. I'm the evil twin.
okay, let's move on here. We're into our almost the second hour. As far as I know, we've had no new grant requests, unless somebody knows
No.
something I don't.
Yeah, John, I did want to let you know that a couple of weeks ago, there was a lady who posted something on Facebook. She shared an experience that she had. She has a son with special needs, and she went to a community that has a splash pad, which, or a spray ground, whatever you want to call it, and talked about how beneficial that was for her son because she can't take him to the beach. So she posted something out on Facebook, and I don't know, Jessica, I can't recall, was it close to 300 people responded that they thought that was a wonderful idea. She was proposing that Groton look to do something like this. I've made it pretty clear that if we're going to do this, it has to be it's not going to be a department initiative. It's going to have to come from folks in the community. So we have reached out to and identified a group of about 5 people that said they'd be willing to work towards getting a splash pad in Groton. So if it moves forward, it wouldn't surprise me that this group approaches the Groton Parks Foundation to be the fiduciary for fundraising for this group. I was hoping that I had asked the lady that made the initial contact if she was available tonight, but she didn't get back to me. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there that you may be seeing something over the course of the next 3 or 4 months. I would envision this would be something similar to the playground at Pequannock Plains, where the town threw in some seed money, but the majority of the money was raised from different fundraising initiatives. And I believe most of the money passed through the Groton Parks Foundation. So there's no formal request, but I'm anticipating that there would be one sometime in the future.
And that's something that would have to eventually end up on town property, I assume. But
Yes.
do you have any idea what something like that would cost?
Ballpark.
I mean, you're going to need plumbing for that and everything else, aren't
Yeah.
you?
Yes. Yeah. The good news is we don't have to become our own water utility. I don't believe.
That's right. You've already got a
We
well.
already got that. We'll just run it over from the Copp part.
Yeah.
Good idea, Dick.
I'm guessing around $150,000.
So it's quite a large overhead, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Okay, well, if she wants to talk to us, we'd be happy to talk to her.
Okay.
Last meeting, we talked about terms. 5 of you don't have a term because you're forevers. That are on the Copp board. The other 4 of us are in theory on 3-year terms, which kind of got forgotten about for a while. So at the last meeting, we put Neil and myself on a term beginning in 2020, Paul in 2021 and Dick in 2022. What I thought I was doing was putting us on for a 3-year term, essentially that would run from our annual meeting date, which I believe is the May date. I don't know if that's what you thought about it, if it should have been calendar date, if it should have been fiscal date, but since we meet in May, I thought it'd be May, essentially for Neil and myself, May 2020 through May 2023. And then if we wanted to go farther, Neil, into our second 100 years, we could, go into another 3-year term. Does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense to you, Mark?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think it's not really clear in the bylaws, so I think we've got the leeway to kind of set up whatever the majority agrees to.
Mhm. I mean, if somebody leaves in the middle of the term, the person that comes in just completes their term, and then they
Right.
go into a 3-year term, essentially.
Yeah, yep.
So I don't know if we did pass a motion earlier. Do you want to pass a second one to make sure everybody understands? Is that clear with everybody, or at least the 4 of us that are on the Parks Foundation and not on the Copp board?
I think officially it's set it as May is when terms
Yeah,
expire,
that's what I
right?
thought.
That's fine.
You want to pass a motion, or is everybody comfortable with that?
Consensus?
Sure.
Sure.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Okay. Second page. Goals for 2021. Because we're already talking about a fundraising program. The other thing that happened earlier that I think kind of got a little bit on pause is we did manage to recruit a few volunteers from the gala. And actually, Dom, I think you and I met with them, with Jessica back in June, but then everything kind of went on pause.
So just to kind of jump in for 1 second, and I was just talking with Mark about this the other day. I have been in contact with everybody that had initially showed interest back kind of in early spring, mid-spring, and without really knowing what the 2021 goals, like was there going to be fundraising, were there going to be events, or like what type of activities were we thinking about? It has been on hold, but everybody, I've spoken with each person and they are still interested. So I've actually jotted down notes after we had talked about doing the virtual gala conversation, that if that is something that we want to move forward with, or even just kind of organizing this nature walk, I'm going to reach out to everybody to invite them to come to those 2 conversations too.
Great idea.
That's great. Sounds good.
just jumping back here, the nature walk, is that something, Dick, you're gonna?
Yeah, I will definitely. In fact, we could probably get that team. Let me go through Maggie and see if Fagan would be willing to do something on the Copp property, and we'd get an article in the day.
Okay.
Let me explore this.
Okay, so you're the chairman of exploration.
Yep. Hey, I'm gonna step away for just a moment. I got to go get my power cord because I'm about to run out of battery here.
Okay.
I could contact Steve Fagan directly. We're kind of old acquaintances. I talk to him occasionally.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could.
Okay, good. I'm glad Dick heard that. Okay, I'll do that as
Why
well.
don't you, work back and forth with Dick, and
Will do.
you can come up with something that would be great. And Jessica, in terms of the meeting we're going to have, do you want it just Andy, myself, and you, or do you want to add these other folks in, or do you want to wait till we get through the initial discussion?
If it's okay with you and Andy, I'd kind of like to wait until we get through with the initial discussion, just so that way it's kind of more of an organized thing once we bring outsiders in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just asking the question.
Yeah.
Well, that's obviously 2 things. Do we want to consider something else, or just getting those done, I think will be a step in the right direction. I know we talked about a project committee that would take the funds that we raised and start working on a project to fence in Tercentennial Legacy Playground, but we're going to put it, we're a long way from having enough money to do that. Anything we can do in that area?
Just to kind of
Let's
jump in
start
here regarding regarding that too. So I've reached out to the woman who had contacted us, that we had had the conversations with, Mark, myself, I think it might have been Jerry and Ben also. And I haven't, there's been no follow-up from her regarding moving forward with the fencing project, if she wants to be involved with kind of the fundraising side of it. But the one thing that I can tell you, and just to kind of circle back to what Mark was talking about a little bit earlier, when the woman, new person, had come or had mentioned out on Facebook about her child who was on the autism spectrum, going out and actively participating in a splash pad, that was, I think, the top trending item in the community forum that week. Now, obviously, with it being election season, that's kind of a big thing if you think about it. That almost 300 people liked, loved, commented, shared, were very active and were very positive and pro the idea of getting a, what's it called, a no splash, or like the no splash pads or whatever.
Yeah,
Zero,
splash pad.
yeah, splash pad, like with the zero depth. So I had actually reached out to everyone who had indicated that they were interested in kind of joining a group or a committee to get this rolling, and 5 of the people I've heard back from, and those are the ones that Mark had mentioned, and so we're going to be working with them. So I don't know if the Groton Parks Foundation, for like the money or the projects group that we had just been talking about, if maybe they could be the ones, since they're actively involved and are looking to kind of move forward with this, that maybe we can start having the conversations about the splash pad. So just kind of for everyone's consideration.
Did we actually have a project committee? Not sure that we did.
I don't think we did. Is there a thought as to where the splash pad would be located?
Well, it would probably have to tie into an existing water supply. So a couple of thoughts that I've had was at the, out behind the community center, you know, there's already water in the building. There's a main that runs right down Fort Hill Road. So that's one option. The other was Sutton Park, where at one time there was a bathroom there. So there is water to that site also. Both of those are centrally located in the community. There's plenty of open space. There's existing parking and other infrastructure to support something like that. So those were kind of my initial thoughts. But we did reach out to a local architectural group, because we would have to submit plans, go through the planning department and submit plans. And they gave us an estimate on what it would cost to kind of go through this whole process, come up with conceptual designs. And that estimate was between $7,000 and $10,000. So, you know, if this group of people is serious, one of the things that they're going to have to do is to figure out how they can raise enough money to pay somebody to assist them going through the planning process. And that would involve working with a splash pad manufacturer, so that, you know, they can calculate, well, this particular feature uses 100 gallons of water, you know, an hour. And, you know, if you're going to have 8 different features, you know, what's going to be the water use over the course of an hour, over the course of, you know, 8 hours. And I did hear from, I reached out to the state and got information back that it would be considered, if there's a circulating system, it would be considered a pool. And the Department of Public Health has certain guidelines for the operation of pool. So the water has to recirculate so many times. You know, the chlorine level has to be at a certain level. So all of those things are what the architect would be providing assistance to, so that when you go to the planning department to get approval, it's like, okay, yeah, all of these things have been done. So
It's a major project, Mark. I mean, you're
it is, yes.
gonna need a filtration chlorination system for that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So,
And that would be part of what the architect would work alongside the manufacturer of the aquatic features to calculate all of that information.
is the group aware of this, Mark, or is the person that's
No, not yet.
okay? Because
That may scare them away.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, I guess my thought is maybe you should talk to them to see if they feel they can do it before we jump too deep. But when they want to
Oh,
come
yeah,
to us,
yeah.
we certainly are willing to talk to them.
Right. Yep.
So,
And I think it's a project that, you know, if it does move forward, just given the response on social media, that it would be a pretty high profile project and actually could go a great ways towards raising the awareness of the Groton Parks Foundation.
yeah, absolutely. No, I think we'd like to be involved. Just a matter of, is it a doable project for a community group to do?
Right.
So, okay. I guess we're down to Dick's report.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think this was sent out to everyone. I did initially send it out to John and Mark with a big caveat in bold that these are suggestions, not recommendations at this point. We're going to be challenged a little bit in that, and Mark, this is where you're going to have to jump in a bit. I had to kind of cross lines between what the foundation would do and what maybe the department would be willing to do. You know, one example would be, you know, trails as far as giving naming rights. I'm not even sure that the town would allow Parks and Rec department to name a trail. I have no idea. So I took a little liberty there, and, you know, I think we need to work through that. I probably expanded my mandate a little bit on this and started looking at not only donor recognition, but also membership levels and giving possibilities, and essentially broke it into 3 parts. 2 parts I think are going to need a lot of input. Another part I think is maybe a no-brainer, and that is kind of the legacy giving and all that. I can go through this. What I think I'd suggest, since we've been running on here, is I put this out to the group again, solicit further input, tell me what looks good, what is feasible, what might not be feasible. I can refine this a little bit and then put a refined final draft out, and then also come up with some type of implementation procedures, because there will be things, if we're thinking of giving out caps, Groton Parks Foundation caps for a certain membership level, then, you know, obviously we got to figure out how we're going to pay for that and how we're going to get those, who's going to control that. There's a lot of details. Essentially, the 3 areas I broke it into is naming and sponsorship opportunities. As I say, I need some feedback, and I kind of borrow a lot from Avallonia Land Conservancy, what we do. But essentially, you know, we have things out there, trails, bridges, benches, either that are existing or could exist, where if someone wanted to make a sizable donation, we could recognize them with a plaque or something like that, or a name on a trail or whatever. I did put a little bit of plan, just kind of general plan giving guidance together. I think that's kind of the no-brainer. Take a look at that, and that's something I think we could get up on our website. With plan giving and legacy giving, it's really just keeping your name out there and showing the public that you're doing great things. And then when it comes to a certain time, people might say, yeah, you know, I'd like to remember the Groton Parks Foundation with legacy giving. So this is something I think we, you know, take a look at it. It's pretty standard boilerplate as far as various ways you can give stock or leave something in a legacy gift, or there's various ways to give. And that's something I think we need to get up, or would like to get up on our website, and maybe even the department's website. A tangent here, both John and I have tried to go into the website recently, and I get a malware warning. I think the website may have been corrupted. My Norton's pretty good about this. So, and I don't know if we made any provisions when we had these guys put the website together. I think everyone knows that the moment a website's put up, it's out of date, and it needs to be updated on a regular basis, especially if we want to put some of the stuff that I put together up on that website. And I'm not sure we've made any provision or discussed how we're going to update that website. I have no experience personally with websites, but it's something that's going to have to happen, you know, as far as long-term maintenance. And then the final, yeah. Go.
Oh, sorry, Dick. I just wanted to jump in for a quick second. So as far as the Groton Parks Foundation website goes, I can actually reach out to Next Tech Solutions. I'm friends with the owner of, or I've become friends with the owner of the company. We, as part of kind of the build out for that, it's unlimited service updates, because as us being, or the foundation being a nonprofit, I can send his information out to everybody. There's a team of like 8 or 9 technicians, I think, that he has working on it. But because it's built on a WordPress platform, Mark, John, and I have also been given the login credentials for it. So I personally can go in and make updates to it as far as content, like graphics, any of like the copy. So like once your information, if everyone decides, yes, we want to move forward with getting like the legacy pieces up there, I can actually go in and do that personally. But I will reach out to them as far as the malware warning, because that's something we obviously need to address.
Yeah, see if anyone else is coming up with it, but I'm getting a big, don't go any further corrupted site.
Yeah, I saw the same thing.
Yeah, so we've got a problem there, or I think we may have a problem. And Jessica, I wouldn't mind getting access. I'd volunteer to also help update. I don't know anything about designing websites, but I assume once you have access, it's pretty easy to just go in. It's like editing a, you know, like a Word document or a PowerPoint or something, huh?
A little bit more than that, just because of the design elements. But yes, it is kind of a plug and play thing. The one thing just universally that I would ask, if you are ever to go to the website and see any type of error, please just take like a screenshot of it. And then if you email that to me, or email it directly to the Next Tech Solutions, just so it kind of gives them a heads up immediately of what the potential problem could be. Because like for me, if I see, oh, it's a 404 page error, I may know, okay, that's not registering in the service directory, but not everybody would know that. So, but you can look at it and go, oh, okay, so the problem may relate to this. But yeah, if there's ever any issue, please let me know, because I'd be happy to connect with them, but we can also contact them directly.
Okay, great.
So Dick,
And the third area I put together was kind of a business membership and personal memberships at different levels with different rewards. And again, I kind of spoke for the department and Mark as far as saying that if you give at a certain business level, we'll put your company's logo on the foundation site and on the department site. So that's where you know, I overstepped my bounds, and I need some feedback on what's possible. And I'd also like kind of a reality check from everyone on what makes, if this makes sense to you, and you know, how we want to proceed. And as I say, I guess we could entertain a few questions here, but I think I'd like to get this out again, an email to everyone with this attachment, and solicit detailed comments, and then slowly work through on it.
So my first sort of initiative, this is great, but
Yeah.
it is a lot of management to make
Yeah.
it work. A membership organization, you know, they're dedicated people that are, so who do you envision would be the person that would be responsible for this?
Yeah, and this is a huge question. We've talked a little bit, Mark and I have talked a little bit on the side what we actually had, and I think Jessica and Jerry were involved in a conference a few months ago, and Jerry's concern was, yeah, who's going to do this? I'd be willing to certainly take some of this on, and that's why I was kind of quizzing Jessica on access and editing of the website. But it may, after we agree what we'd like to do, then as I said, I'd like to put some type of implementation memo together, which spells out what we need as far as resources, manpower, what the cost is going to be, and that may make us back up a little bit. Yeah, I perfectly agree with it. And I worry about, who manages handing out caps if someone gets a membership,
Yeah.
Dick, it's a lot of information. As Andy said, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
My suggestion is you do put it back out and you ask for input, and maybe even ask which of these areas is most important, because we may not be able to do everything at once.
Yeah.
I would prefer not being, going through the ringer till next May. So
Yeah.
maybe if you give us a deadline to respond and, come back to you and you refine it, and then eventually we may be able to take a
Yeah. And as I say,
vote or something to get
Yeah.
it done.
No, I think we're real early on this, and I don't want to force a decision on this right now, just kind of a general discussion. As I say, kind of a no-brainer would be putting up maybe the legacy giving stuff. The other two, as far as naming and sponsorship and membership categories, I really need some input on what's feasible and a reality check on what this is going to take, who's going to manage it. We may want to vastly scale this down or adjust it. There's a lot of questions in my mind. I'm sure there will be in everyone's mind.
And I will say that there are companies that actually will take on almost the whole process and program. I mean, and we work with one in our little organization.
Yeah, for a price.
It's a thing called Flip Cause. Oh yeah, but they paid for themselves in the first month.
So, and that's the type of feedback I would appreciate, because as I say, I can refine this, but then I think the next step for me is to put together some type of implementation plan.
Yeah.
So we can really how many people are going to have to be working on this? How often? What's the cost for materials going to be? What are the logistics? How do we get, if we're going to give caps out or something, how is that going to happen physically?
What I would suggest, just because I know this one, is go to Flip Cause and see what they do.
Okay, Flip
They
Cause.
take all the money in, they process it, they send out the gift letter, they send a thank you. You can tailor it, to individuals. They send out merchandise.
Okay.
They do all this. Obviously, there's a fee, but it would be an interesting place for you to look at just to see.
Yeah.
Because they take the place of really a development person.
Yeah. And this is kind of a development type tasker with some admin support. And it's going to be, which one of these folks on the screen here is going to step to the plate? And it's probably, since I'm suggesting it will fall on me.
Yeah.
That why Jim is not on the screen? He's
Well, we got two dicks, so.
True.
So yeah, if everyone's good with that, let me send it out for further consideration. I'd appreciate, unfettered comments on it, on what might work, what might not work. And then I think I need to try to do an analysis of how much impact this is going to have to both the foundation and also the department. We're kind of in this together to some extent. And I hesitate to speak for Mark and Jessica and Jerry and all those folks and say, hey, take this on. Could be another gala type thing, effort.
For sure. Dick, thank you. Lots of It's a hard work there, and we appreciate it. And the only thing I have left here is 2021 dates. I looked at my calendar earlier. I believe May 5th is the first Wednesday in May, and October 6th is the first Wednesday in October. Obviously, the May date comes first, and that's pretty much, we've been locked into that. The other one's been a little flexed at times, but so why don't you mark your calendar, mark those dates on your calendar, and if one of them is a problem, let me know, and we'll see what we can figure out. Thank you for attending. Neil, it's good to see you. You obviously hit the right button to show up tonight.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey,
Now you're a Zoomer, Neil.
Yeah.
Join the Zoom club.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
yeah.
All right. Well, I went through every icon on the whole thing in the last hour and a half. And I played one of them, and hopefully we've gotten something out of it.
You made it. Oh, Jim, where have you been?
I just moved the screen up a little bit. You still can't see the clutter in my office, but that's good.
Turned
Anything else for the good of the,
It turned out that the toolbar at the bottom doesn't show up unless you move the mouse down to the bottom.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, it hides down there just so it doesn't take up room. But yeah, it's kind of, there's some little tricks to it as far as sharing documents and transferring host and all types of stuff.
sure. Anything else for the good of the foundation and the Copp board?
Cinco de Mayo, you bring the margaritas, John.
Yes.
You're the boss.
Shall we adjourn? Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a
So
motion.
moved.
Very popular decision. Guys, great seeing you. Now
Looks
you
like
get the
everything's
social
well.
benefit of Zooming. So have a good evening.
Thank you so much, guys.
Stay
Thank
well.
you.
Done, Mark.
Take care,
Thank
Jessica.
you.